And welcome back to the True Flames podcast with Henry
Kandi, Kane.
and we have some fancy music for you guys, eh?
I'm excited.
Okay, so yeah, all right, well, let's just get into it. I was going to talk about the drinking culture in the UK, and obviously Candy's not from the UK. Have you visited England before?
In a past life.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I
No,
probably had a drinking problem too.
yeah, so I don't know if Candy knows this. Obviously, we spoke about it briefly before the podcast, but the UK is notorious for having one of the worst drinking cultures in the world. And when they go on holiday to other places, countries complain about this drinking culture. So, one thing, if you guys are abroad and you want to get a feel for what it's about, you can watch Auditors. They're like these UK people that go around. They call them like one's knockout audits, the other guy is DJE media, and they go around like the town centers where people are drinking, having fun, etc. But it always escalates into just brawling, violence, aggression, nonsense, basically. And
Hmm.
there are some patterns I've noticed. So before I get into these UK patterns, what's coming to mind, Candy, that as I say that stuff?
Well, I mean, I do think there's a drinking problem here. It might not be as bad,
I
but
mean, alcohol in general does make people aggressive, doesn't it?
I think alcohol just kind of brings up things you couldn't express otherwise.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think I like people will say, "Oh, you're someone else when you're drinking," but I think like your true self comes out.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And maybe your shadow self comes out.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
say that.
Kind of like a wounded, like masked version. Like it's
Hmm.
both. I get what you're saying. There's truth, and then there's also like this overcompensating, crazy bullshit that comes out.
Yeah, but that's in you somewhere.
You know, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what about those egregory things, right? Because that,
Like the pain body.
yeah, like there is a collective thing that does kind of take people over. I feel that's kind of when they're in the blackout drunk state, they're not
Hmm.
there anymore, really. The
No.
consciousness has basically gone, I'm fucking at it, and something else has taken over, some kind of collective. I think, yeah, the term is egregore or egregory. I never know how to pronounce it. You said, like Eckhart calls it the collective pain body, but it's essentially an energetic, unconscious, emotional energy that's rampant in the world. And for some reason, when people are drunk or in an unconscious state, it sometimes just takes them over, and they end up like repetitively stuck in it until they become conscious or snap out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it also like alcohol almost opens up your energetic field too.
Yeah.
So you almost become more susceptible to like other people manipulating your energy.
The thing is, so do most things, whether weed, psychedelics, etc., cocaine,
Yeah.
meth, heroin, like they all do, and it's just like I maybe frequency wise, they attract the frequency that matches them as well.
Yeah, and what's really odd is I always, because I line dance a lot at bars, and I will have people come up to me, and it's always people that are like fucked up out of their mind. And they come to me like they come up to me like a moth to a flame. And they'll like the last time it happened, the guy was like, God brought me to you.
Jesus,
Yeah, and he starts
literally.
looking. He was on cocaine, not alcohol, but he was looking
Yeah,
around and he was just like, "You can see it, can't you? You can see their darkness." And I was like, "Oh God."
and that's like a movie scene.
Yeah.
And then like some weird like CIA guy drags him away, and you're like, wait, who is that guy? But you know what's funny is what you said. There's interesting because when I had the crazy Kundalini breakthrough experience from hospital, when I came out, the people I could connect to the easiest were these homeless people, and they had
Mhm.
the same thing. They looked at me with a certain eye. I looked with them, and it's almost like a kindred soul recognizing a soul. It wasn't all homeless people. Some were just unconscious, and like I said, they were more like these puppets for these energies. There was no soul to connect to, but some
Mhm.
there was like a literal. I could feel like someone vibrating, but in this person's body who happened to be, you know what I mean, meth addict, heroin. And I just came out of hospital. I wasn't on any drugs or anything, but I had the big Kundalini shift in energy. So he came up to me like, "Oh, what are you like? Cocaine? Like heroin?" Like he's assuming that I'm in recovery or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude, I'm just wide open. I'm just wide open like a big satellite, like, you know. But I did something crazy at the time. I literally left my door open all the time. And
Mhm.
I said to these homeless guys, hey, whenever you want to go there, you can go there. And he even said I would never abuse your home like that or something like that. And I was like, wow.
Hmm. That's interesting.
It was almost like I wasn't in a fear state at the time, so nothing fear could really enter. But rather than me having the boundaries, others would draw their own boundaries, like
Yeah.
automatic, you know?
Yeah. I had an experience with a homeless person where I was on mushrooms in San Diego, and I was
This is
walking around. I
like
was,
the what I was going to say. This is like a good line for any beginning of a story, right? I was on mushrooms in San Diego. No, yeah, sorry, go go ahead.
That's how it felt. And I'm walking past these homeless men, and I just walk up to one, and my friend who's with me is like, "What the fuck are you doing? Get away from them!" Blah, blah, blah. And I just sit down next to him, and I look at him, and he's got this notebook, and he's just writing these like numbers all over
Wow.
and over, and he's got like maps of the city, and he's like writing these numbers, and I look at him, and I'm like, "Oh, you're coding." And he looks at me, and his eyes light up, and he's like, "Yes, I'm coding." And I'm like, "Thank you for keeping it together." And then I walk
What?
away. It was so weird.
Oh, Candy, have you ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
I have not.
Oh my god. It's like a drug fest movie. It's based on the writings of a guy. I can't remember his name. He's like a famous American, either journalist or writer or something. But he went to Vegas one time and was just on a fuckload of drugs. And then the movie is kind of like the extreme visual representation of that. The main character is Johnny Depp, who plays him. And it's just, I mean, it's all over the place. But like, because they take so many weird experimental drugs, the hallucinations that come to life are like very visually memorable, you know?
I have to watch it.
Like there's a scene where the whole floor turns to, I think it's like blood or mud or something, and then he looks up and he goes, he can hear a conversation about golf shoes nearby, and he says to the person like, "Somebody tell me about the fucking golf shoes." And then everyone looks up at him, but they're all like reptiles.
What the fuck?
None of them are human. They're all fucking like, and it's cool because it's not this. You know, when CGI took over, everything got kind of shit. It's like actual makeup effects. Like they put them all as like weird humanoid reptiles. Or this is from memory, by the way. I could even be wrong, but from what I remember, they kept doing shit like that. Like one time, they put horns on this guy's head, and it was in a split-second shot. He's got horns on his head, and I'm like,
And
yo,
then
what
he
the fuck?
doesn't the next scene.
What do you mean?
Like he just had him for a second, like they like almost showing like a
Yeah,
vision.
and he doesn't like so. Yeah, it really fucks with your brain. And then the way they warp the camera, they do that crazy wide angle lens on stuff.
I have to watch it.
It's almost funny to watch. It's extremely entertaining to watch. It's hard to follow the storyline because they're both these two people are drugged out their mind. Yeah, no, it's a classic. I'm surprised you haven't seen it. So yeah,
There's a lot of classics I haven't seen. I'm realizing.
I guess that's one of them. Yeah, and I don't glorify the drug use and like, oh wow, it's so cool, man, all the drugs he's on. Because some people do that with it, like who were like into drugs, like, yeah, man, have you seen Fear and Loathing? Like it's their gospel or something. But it's funny, it's well made, and Johnny Depp's a good actor. And the guy who plays his lawyer in it, who's I say lawyer in loose wording, like he's not really a lawyer, but
Mhm.
he's also fantastic in it as well. Like he has freak out paranoid moments where he tries to fight the Johnny Depp character, and
I'll have to check it out.
oh, it's good. Okay, so now let's get into the drinking. So what I noticed these patterns is the women, especially up north in England, I don't know why there's always a difference in the energies of countries north to south, right? But up
Mhm.
north in England, It is how I describe it. North and South in England are the opposite to America. So America, the North's rich, right? The South's poor. In the UK, historically, it's the opposite. London,
Hmm.
the South has always been the posh, rich, Oxford, all that, right? MPs, Parliament. You go up north, you get drinking culture, people that want to fight, military men, and women that some, one in a thousand are very beautiful, but most of them are quite rough. Not
Are you saying that the North is the southern part, like the western hillbilly part of?
I'd say like the cultures are unique, right? I would never be like, oh yeah, they're the same. But if I had to paint it for you, that's how I describe it. Like if you think the North was based on industries, shipment, trade, etc., stuff that
Hmm.
when those industries died, those people didn't really have much about them, so they drinking culture kind of took over, drug culture took over, you know.
That's kind of like the Midwest here.
Yeah, but I would say it's always been there historically. Because look at Scotland, look at Ireland, and then look at the north of England. The drinking thing's been prominent even when they were a booming industry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So why is that? I don't know. But when I watch these videos and I've experienced it myself, not in the north. I've only like, I mean, I've gone clubbing in like Scotland, but mainly I've clubbed around the south of England, so I can't really speak on it. But I've seen it in videos where it's strange. It's like the women, they seem to be the aggressors usually, and then the men either trying to protect the women or look good in front of the women end up in the fight. That's the pattern I
Mm.
keep seeing. So the women are like really mouthy and like, oh, who does she think she is? And they're just completely unconscious, so they're drunk out of their mind, and then they want to fight with the other girl who's they're trying to hold them back, and then the guys end up fighting. And this happens like hundreds and hundreds of times. Probably it's been going on thousands of years. Who even knows?
Most
But
likely.
yeah, so I don't really know what my point with that is, but like it's a strange phenomena. And what I would say is this: we were talking about like things that take you over when you drink. The only thing I
Hmm.
remember is when I had gin, people would call me like Gin Henry because it was like another personality and it was way more aggressive than I am normally. And I was looking around thinking that people wanted to fight me, so then I would want to fight them, you know.
Well, how is the culture there around like how the media presents drinking? Because here I feel like they almost like they don't even realize it's a problem, right? It's like,
Here they
yeah,
tend to just
everyone go relax on the weekend and have a drink.
mm. Yeah, here they label it that as they give like slanderous terms like oh he's a yobbo or she's a chav or they're
Mm.
scum, they're low life, they're like benefit whatever. So they just kind of label it as like because in England there's always a class thing for some reason. Like it's cool to be upper class, but if you're lower class, the media just demonizes you all the time.
What do you mean for some reason? Haven't you looked at the history of?
Well, what I mean is, surely if they want to get those people on board, the easiest way to do is just be like, "Hey, we're one of you," which is what they do sometimes in Parliament and stuff. Like, but most of the time now they got a new label. They just call them far right thugs. So basically, if you're lower working class and you're a male, they just call you far right thug. Before it used to be hooligan. Like if you, because they
Hooligan.
like football fans, oh, they're all hooligans.
Hmm.
So the term changes over the decades, but the slanderous, vindictive way they say it's still there. They're trying to push these people in the box like they don't exist or that they're scum and their opinions not needed. And it definitely creates some tension, but I do feel it is its own kind of subculture within England. Like, and I,
Hmm.
I don't know if I respect it. I don't really. What I feel is it's probably the biggest issue and why there's such a void in English culture and why other cultures are now dominating, or there's this whole zeitgeist of multicultural, etc. But where energy goes where there's a void, right?
Hmm.
There's definitely a void there. Like to deny it would be crazy because
Yeah.
the void is then filled with the alcohol and drugs, which is an overcompensation of some lack, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So yeah, if you ever had those moments, like I said with the gin, is probably where I would get aggressive, and then I flipped to vodka for some reason, and I didn't have that aggression that I did with gin.
So I have never been a huge drinker, and usually the only thing that comes out for me is I just become a little like crazy and fun, and I just become adventurous. But I would say when I was younger, if I drank tequila, definitely a different personality came out.
And tequila is a specific spirit, right?
Oh yeah, it's like
Mm.
it's like I feel like a lot of people get feisty and they want to fight, or it's very sexual.
Yeah, so that's what is funny about the spirits. They each have their own spirit.
Yeah, I like whiskey because for me, whiskey, it's just like you just want to have fun.
Right.
And, you're getting over a heartbreak. That's the best thing. Just,
I thought ice cream was.
uh,
Ice cream's the thing that dampens the emotion, I
yeah,
guess. Like
that's
people eat a tub
after.
of ice cream to hide
That's
the.
after you drink the whiskey. Then you go
Yeah,
home and
yeah.
you're alone and you cry and you eat the ice cream.
The other thing about gin is, so on the time I'm drinking it, I'm aggressive, but then the next day, I'm super depressed. I mean, this is a depression, like, because I'm talking about drinking in my early 20s. I don't really drink anymore, so it's hard
Yeah,
to
me
say.
neither.
But yeah, I get this crazy depression. I'd put on some depressed songs. I'd write depressed Facebook statuses. I'd hide in my bed. I'd watch TV.
It's
I'd
a depressant. Alcohol is a depressant. It's like you're almost trading because you're gonna have a good time the night you drink it, and then the next
mm,
day you're gonna have that depression come in.
yeah, and I imagine I've never taken cocaine personally, but I would imagine that it's even more extreme because it's extreme high, extreme low, right?
Yeah, I've heard ecstasy's really bad. Like once you come down from it, you get like a depression
Yeah.
because you're just so high and so like happy, and then you feel the difference between like what you were feeling when you were on it and when you aren't, and there's like a sadness.
Yeah, I wouldn't get it with the vodka for some reason. It didn't have those extreme things with gin. And the
What
reason I
does
drank
vodka feel like for you? And also, that's crazy because gin is disgusting.
it is. I never have it plain. I had it
Gin
mixed
is
with like
like we would drink it when I was a teenager because I had a bar in the basement. Me and my friends would drink gin so my parents wouldn't know because no one ever drank gin.
yeah, and it's a specific one I remember drinking. It's called Gordon's Gym. I don't know if it's a UK brand or something, but it's like green with white. And yeah, I'd have it with juice, like orange juice,
Mhm.
gin and juice, like Snoop Dogg.
Mhm.
Uh,
Gin and
and
juice.
vodka, you were asking like, how'd I feel on vodka?
Yeah.
So you get drunk, but I was nowhere near aggressive, nor super depressed the next day. But you still have obviously a hangover state and all that shit.
Mhm. Yeah, vodka gives me really really bad hangover. Like even just a shot.
Right. And do you know what's crazy? This just came to my head right now. But there was a girl where I took her out. We were drinking, and then we tried to have like a connection. It didn't work. Like too much emotions came up, so no sexual intercourse basically. And then something weird happened. She left in the morning, and then I like threw up like crazy, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and I don't know why I'm confessing this on the podcast, but it might as well. Let's be authentic here. I thought the throwing up was the alcohol, right? I just assumed, oh, I've had too much to drink. Probably that's why I threw up. But looking back on it now, I have a weird suspicion it might just be an energetic thing. It could
Yeah,
be both,
definitely.
but like,
Because, like I said, you absorbed shit. You could have
yeah,
absorbed something in
let's
your solar plexus, and then.
without being like TMI, right? I'll put it this way: I absorbed something from her, and then it didn't agree with my system. She got emotional. I threw up. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But in my brain at the time, I'm very 3D stuff, so I'm kind of just assuming, oh, I've had too much alcohol. But I couldn't even explain what alcohol I had or why, or
Mhm.
and
It
maybe that's the
probably
same for
was that.
STDs. Like people think it's purely biological, but maybe it's also energetic.
Oh, it totally is. It's all like shame. The energy of the STDs. It's all like based on
Shame energy,
shame.
yeah.
Yeah, and guilt.
Yeah, some guys I know they'll sleep with like loads of women, zero STD. Then I know one guy sleeps with like two women, two STDs.
Yeah,
Like what the fuck?
it's crazy. You know what's interesting though is here with the drinking, what I've seen, especially growing up, what I would notice as a child is that it's like almost in the child's mind, you're like, my parents are only fun when they're drinking. So
Yeah,
maybe it's a culture based because America's very like work, work, work. And then people are like, yeah, it's the weekend. We can finally have fun and drink and let loose.
yeah,
And it's interesting because, like, as an adult, then I'd have these family parties and like everyone's dancing and having fun, but they're all shit faced.
mm,
And like I'd be sober and I could see the kids like experiencing the same thing that I felt. And it's like they bring the kids in and they're dancing with the kids, and the kids have this like uncomfortable expression because it's like, my parents aren't normally like this, but all of a sudden now they want to sing and dance and have fun because they're
yeah,
drunk.
yeah. I mean, yeah, my mum was basically an alcoholic as well, so it's like I don't know what the normal healthy relationship is with alcohol. I don't think I've ever seen it. I do know that part of the reason I think the aggression, the fighting, and all that stuff is I feel the people themselves there's not an outlet for that energy, a healthy
Mhm.
outlet. You know, because one of the other topics I want to talk about is like martial arts and stuff, and I feel that those things tend to ground you, whereas when people have their aggression, their testosterone, etc., and then they mix it with alcohol, drugs, they have this thing that finally I can prove myself, and they
Mhm.
try and get in a fight to prove themselves. Or it's like,
It's that expression. I really think alcohol just like it takes like your inhibitions and you're just able to express the things you wouldn't have
yeah,
otherwise.
and but it is like you said, a kind of this energetic pain body. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily like this authentic soul expression. It's more like these things, these masks they've worn are now out, and they've got teeth. You know, they're
Yeah, and
sharp teeth, and they're like, "Argh."
yeah, and I have a friend who she struggles with alcohol, and I would always see in her that she would like have things that she couldn't say to people, like she couldn't express, like
Yeah,
people pleasing, and then she'd go on a bender and she'd send them these voice messages like expressing it, but it's through the alcohol, so it's all like,
yeah, yeah.
"Ah, you did this," and
Uh, Another thing women do as well is they use the alcohol as the now I can sleep with someone.
which is super fucked up because like
Like, why can't you do it sober? You know, why
it's
is it
literally
alcohol?
like because you're raping yourself, really.
Whoa.
I mean, like your body is saying no if you have to put a substance in it to get it to say yes.
Yeah, in a way. But so why? Because people for years like, oh, it's just social lubrication, man. It's just so you feel at ease. But really, I've noticed, especially when I've hung around with the same group of women, you go drinking with them, they just use it as their thing to like, oh, if I'm drunk, I can have sex with someone without thinking about it, like consciously, like whether it was a good choice or a bad choice. So they're horny. They use the alcohol to facilitate an action. Why are we not going horniness to what's the word, conscious action? Why is it horniness unconscious action decision, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because they don't know what to do with it, right? Like, no, it's not like anyone teaches you. So I think it
So
comes out in distorted, fucked up ways.
we talked about our theoretical camp. You said like we teach men to giggle, and I said it was gay. But here's another version of a theoretical camp. We take women and we get them to like sleep with guys. No, that sounds like a cult. We get
What
we get
the
women
fuck?
we get women to accept their sexuality and attraction of others without alcohol, and then we get men to express their aggression and testosterone without
Through
alcohol, and
giggles.
then
Through giggles.
suddenly the entire subculture of the UK's like drinking problem is solved overnight. There you go.
There you go. You've solved it.
I know, it went easy. It was that easy.
Oh my god.
That wasn't even a joke. It was just
I
a.
was waiting for it.
You could say I knocked it out of the park with that one. All right, yeah, moving on. There should be a tumbleweed one here, like
Yeah.
and
We need
crickets.
that.
We'll add that later. All right, so you because this kind of linked with fighting and aggression. It's all around the same topic. It's funny how they all link. You were going to say about periods. Like, let's talk about
The
periods.
menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
What would you like to know as an outsider looking
Well,
in?
you mentioned about the cycle. You were saying something about the nervous system between women and men and all that.
Oh yeah, I just saw something the other day. This isn't really necessarily about the menstrual cycle, but it's I keep seeing things about how like all of the scientific studies they've done on the nervous system is all based on a man's nervous system. And they've been like applying it to women for years. Like even the cold plunge, I don't know if you know this,
They
is
test men
all the
or
tests are based on a man's nervous system. So like a
yeah.
female's nervous system actually like freezes up and gets nervous and
Hmm.
has like it like impacts them negatively to do the cold plunge.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, but also what I saw was that men's nervous system is run on like dopamine.
Yeah.
So it's very go do something and you feel a reward from it. And that's what women have been being taught. And that's your whole feminism thing of like the boss bitch. You know, we've been
Yeah.
taught according to a man's nervous system. But what runs the feminine nervous system is oxytocin. So it's more about pleasure. It's more about like cuddling with your cat and hugging your loved ones. And
Yeah, because my sister would always be content with just like the cat's baby, sunshine,
yeah.
like, and she would kind of like, in a way, be like, "Oh, can't you just be content with that?" To me, and I'd be like, "Look, I love my cat or whoever I've got at the time, or I
Hmm.
love these simple things, food, etc." But like you said, Candy, I do think there's a different wiring there, and it
Hmm.
could be energetic between men and women. Not just it could be expressed biological, but at the root, it's energetic.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's something else where the men need some kind of creation force because we don't create babies, but we do create things. We
Hmm.
create stuff. That's like what we love to
Create
do.
problems. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, 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 whoa. It's funny you say that, right? Because I always feel, are these like little candy Freudian slip thins or something? Like, because there's a lot, we were talking about like the Gnostics, I was mentioning Sophia. And the funny thing is, I was saying that the demiurge was born without a father. But weirdly, you said, oh, so Sophia the woman's to blame? And I was like, wait, what? I was like, how did you get that? But it might be that in society, the thing is, blame the women for the men's incompetence. So that's what you're expressing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which obviously doesn't apply to Gnosticism, but the it could be an energetic pain body, right? Like we see the incels, they blame women for fucking everything.
It's really, yeah, it's really interesting because I feel like, I mean, a lot of parts of society have just stripped the feminine completely and like run on the masculine, and then they blame the feminine for everything.
Yeah, and it's this is the problem is the how this links to the fighting, the different energies is I feel that fighting is healthy, right? It's a form of like a martial art, physical male expression. If you look at Taoism, they do forms of fighting. If you look at Buddhist monks, they did like kung fu.
Hmm.
Okay, and sparring, wrestling, the Greeks, whatever, like it's in our thing. But then the grids version is we know men had to express this energy, so we'll send them to war.
Yeah.
We'll get them to fight over proxy borders and bullshit like that. And then I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and he was like, "Oh, the reason men are so soft now is because we don't go to war." And then I'm thinking, like, well, my brother's got like the craziest PTSD. Like, is war the answer to this? It's like, no, you just need. It's called like initiation by fire. It's like men at
Well,
16, 17 in every sort of tribe group were sent out to do some kind of physical task that involved fighting, taking over, whatever, using your
hmm.
testosterone, right? And the same, they'd even fight and spar with each other to like get leadership things in a circle. They'd put the circle in fire. You fight with this person, not to the death, but until someone's like, oh, going to die, and then you stop the fight. But these are all healthy expressions. So then if you take that away, you get the alcohol overcompensation. In England, like I said, I kind of described it. America, you've probably got your baseball games where maybe someone gets loud and leery. And
Yeah, oh, I think it's almost similar to working, right? It's like if you a war, is taking a man's drive to fight and then taking his life force and energy and putting into something that he might necessarily not care about personally, right? It's like,
Yeah.
whose war is this, right? Like, I
Yeah.
love Game of Thrones in the books, it goes over and not really in the show. But the whole point of Game of Thrones was supposed to be that, like, all of these common villagers are just being murdered and fighting each other over, like, these lords and ladies having their little Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
like,
that's
not
interesting.
seeing how it affects the actual people. And it's just like their petty little bullshit, right? Or someone lying about who's the father and blah blah blah, and
And that's
who's,
is that why they call it Game of Thrones?
yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's actually really good. He really gets, it's anti-war. The whole fucking thing is anti-war, and
Yeah.
leave it up to HBO to turn it into being pro-war.
Yeah,
But
my brother loves the pro anything pro war. He's like, yeah, fuck yeah. So he loves Game of Thrones, but I'm pretty sure he has the opposite message for it.
yeah, I mean, even at the end of the series, the her Daenerys, her biggest dragon, he burns down the throne.
Yes.
Right, like Jon Snow kills Daenerys. I'm sorry for everyone who's getting spoiled. And then the dragon faces Jon Snow, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's gonna kill Jon Snow," and he doesn't. He fucking tears down the throne because the dragon's the only one who's like the conscious one here, and is like, "Here's the problem, guys."
Yeah, and dragon is supposed to symbolize our most ancient rooted energy before we became physical beings, right? So in
Mhm.
any mythology, in like The Hobbit, the dragon Smorg goes to burn the villages and kill them all. It wasn't like because he's just some bastard dragon. The like mythology of it is that the people have forgotten where they came from. They're like they're
Mm.
greedy, they're infighting, they trading things for gold and money, and they don't really know who they are anymore. The dragon is like the reset of that, like I'm basically gonna like reduce you back because you've forgotten your roots.
Mm.
And yeah, so maybe there's something like that in Game of Thrones. I haven't seen it, but what you were describing sounded like that, right? You said the dragon like destroyed the throne. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting because I think that is kind of, you know, same thing as if you go to work every day and you're putting your life force into someone else's company, and
Hmm.
now this company is profitable. It's the same thing. Like, you're putting your fighting energy into this war, into someone else's war. So it's not really how the energy wants to be expressed, right? Like, if you're going to fight, I think it should be for you.
Yeah, men do the weird thing where it's porn and video games, which I think dulls the testosterone, the Kundalini dragon spirit, right? Serpent energy. It dulls it, and then it expresses like inverted. Because when you don't partake in that cycle, you're talking. The thing about the period that's interesting is I realized testosterone has a natural cycle it goes through.
Hmm.
It's not just horniness. Like that's reducing it down to one element. But if you, I don't want to say refrain from like, oh, I must not partake, but if you listen to the kind of Kundalini energy, it tells you how it wants to express. And after like some initial frustration, you feel it around the kind of, what do you call it? What's before the solar plexus? The sacral, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel it around the sacral, something uncomfortable, but then it moves into other parts. Then it becomes like maybe anger because obviously whatever you're repressing, the anger comes up, and then it turns into kind of mission productive elements.
Hmm.
But you also in that way you do feel like fighting and stuff, and that's what's crazy. But it's not that you're the aggressive drunk; it's that you want to express this physical innate ability in a healthy form.
It's interesting though because the sacral would be like the life force, the emotion behind it, and then in the solar plexus is where I think anger is. And usually anger is some form of control or like a boundary being overstepped, which is
Yeah,
again
I think the
some
anger
form
is
of
also
control.
someone didn't respect your boundaries. The anger's there to like fuck
Which
off.
is,
Respect my
yeah,
boundaries. Yeah,
but that's also control, right? Because it's how someone else's body
boundaries. Yeah, I
is
guess.
moving in the world
Yeah,
isn't how I want them to.
Yeah, and like we're talking about the drinking, I think the drinking like pre-triggers those unconscious energies. So they're coming up when they haven't been integrated or, so
Mhm.
this guy's like looking at some guy, oh, he wants to fight me, I'm gonna fight him. But it's like that probably would have come out in a more healthy way had you just allowed the energy to express in your day-to-day life rather than the porn, video games, whatever the fuck you're doing to numb it out.
Mhm.
And you talking about the period, so feel like I don't know, maybe there's a link between the period cycle and how testosterone expresses. I'm not sure.
Oh, I was gonna the period cycle is like you when you start your period, you have this, your estrogen drops, your proestrogen drops, and you have this time where you just have like no energy. And
Yeah,
then you move into this phase where you have all this energy and you're just like go 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 get shit done, and then you move
yeah.
into ovulation where you get into like more creative, and then you go back into this like low energy phase. So like the way the world works is not set up for this. It's set up for the man's cycle, which is a day-to-day cycle, and ours is like a monthly
And I
cycle.
wouldn't even say man, I'd say a machine. Because what the fuck is this 9 to 5 bullshit?
Yeah.
What man, what human is partaking in this? I don't know. But it's also not even common. Like I don't know if it's true, but I saw in France they do like 11 a.m. till later or something.
Yeah,
And
I'm pretty
also
sure in
like
Italy they only work like 6 hours a day.
yeah, circadian rhythms will tell you that the 9 to 5 only suits 50% of the genetics, right? So apparently
Mhm.
the other 50% have completely different wirings where 9 to 5 doesn't work. They're
And you
like
can just
just
look at it like in certain job types, like especially office jobs, you're there 9 to 5, but I'm pretty sure there's tons of studies that show people only get like 4 to 5 actual hours of work done.
oh yeah, my brain only wakes up around 5 o'clock. Yeah, before
Right
that
at
I'm
the
just
end of the
kind
workday.
yeah, so that's why whenever I was I remember one day I did like this job we have to be in for school assembly. So I'm up at 5 a.m. or 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to get to these schools in the middle of nowhere. And I remember not being like almost zombie state. I'd go to sleep, wake up, and I'd be like, oh, okay, now my brain's on. So it's almost like a zombie version of me was working all those shifts.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's like. You just become a zombie eventually.
So, yeah, so you mentioned that. And then you said like men have like a day cycle, whereas the women then it's
Mhm.
like a whole month of that, right?
Yeah.
And then I jokingly, this is before the podcast, I said that yeah, men have this period of the day they don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, I have definitely have a period of the month I don't want to be bothered.
It's true though. I didn't realize this was common, but yeah, there's times where people say, "Oh, my husband just doesn't want to be bothered." It's like, yeah, it's like why can't that? Why is that not respected? I don't get it.
Yeah, just leave people alone, man. Let them have their alone time.
So yeah, now on to fighting because I just want to say like I like fighting, right? But I'm also in my mid 30s. So it's not like I go around trying to pick fights or anything like that. But what I would
Mhm.
say is there's something about it where it's like just an expression, no different than working out or dancing, but it's usually male based, and I guess it's not seen as a thing, so people just allow it to unconsciously express through the drinking and the crazy shit like that, or it's only allowed to be vicariously lived through, i.e., you can watch UFC,
Mhm.
but like that's not the same as participating in it. Like when I did Jeet Kune Do and kickboxing and all this stuff, there's different energies that come up as you're doing it, similar to like we were talking about like the testosterone and all the kundalini and stuff. Like it does that, it does something to you, which is why I think maybe Bruce Lee was so like philosophical and conscious because he was expressing his whole energetic body.
Mhm. And just the movement of it too, because there's a lot more to like somatically how your body is reacting to movement, right? If you aren't moving your body, like your energy can get stuck in certain places.
Yeah, that's
And I
true.
mean, that man is constantly moving his body and is in like this flow state with it almost.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so if you wanted to express the energy, consciously, then you have to, I guess, sign up at a gym, right? With some kickboxing thing or something like that, right? And then the problem with that, this is where it's an issue. Younger guys always have an advantage, right?
Hmm.
They just do because they repair quicker. They don't take hits as hard. If you get punched in the head when you're in your 40s, it's different to when you're 20. So
Oh
there's all of
yeah.
that, right? So I think that puts off older guys from partaking in it. So I think this is where I think testosterone naturally dips anyway,
Hmm.
because why you don't need it your whole life. But I do think it prematurely dips because of these society factors.
Yeah, and I mean, does it have? I don't know. I'm not a man. Does it have to be expressed through fighting, or can it be expressed through a different way? Like even like going to the gym.
I've tried to I've tried to express the fighting part of me other ways. It doesn't work. I don't know why.
Hmm.
And that makes me like, oh, I need to save up money and do like boxing again or something. I don't know what it is, but but even if I'm just fighting in the air, like they call it shadow boxing, or if you're just sparring the air, that releases some of it. I don't know why. Maybe
Hmm.
because for millennia, guys were punching and kicking and doing all kinds of stuff, and then now you just stop. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Interesting. Because I
But
know a
yeah,
lot of the like more conscious ways of fighting are very like defense based. They're not even like go attack people and beat them up.
yeah, like we were I think we spoke about this in the last podcast. Like, I do feel the most grunt, like unconscious version is what you sort of see in the UFC.
Hmm.
There's more interesting versions to that. But I'm not going to say that even boxing itself, if you watch it as a sport, you can feel the energy and why people spend thousands of pounds to watch boxing, or why it's such a highlight to watch two heavyweights punch each other. There's an energy behind it. But the energy I feel is something old, indigenous, shamanic. It's rooted, it's grounded. Your feet are moving, your head's moving, everything's moving. There's so much buildup of energy and the fighting is kind of this slow release or dance of it. And it's been around for millennia. But yeah, something's happened where now we're supposed to spectate it. Even I think with a lot of sports, it's the grid's version of you're not allowed to express it, but you can pay money to watch someone else do it. If you think of like
Yeah.
porn, is sort of like that as well, or like the OnlyFans, like you can't have sex and intimate energy, but you can pay to watch someone else do it. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
why the
interesting.
fuck? Like there were times where people were
What
just
about
having.
sports? Like, do you think it can be expressed? Like, let's say American football can be very physically, or even hockey is a perfect example where, I mean, they're just on ice skates fighting out
I
there.
think it's part of the testosterone thing, but I do think the fighting is a separate thing in it, where it's like you now see guys have this fascination with MMA,
Hmm.
UFC, but they're like it's almost become this zeitgeist movement where everyone does it now, and I think that's part of it. It's like they're trying to go, we've forgotten something, let's get back to the roots. And it doesn't mean everyone has to do MMA. Everyone has their own form of it, but the denial of it or repression of it expresses something distorted, unhealthy, i.e., war spectacle, where you're just like, "Go Team Red, go Team Blue,"
Yeah.
or you like everyone's beating up cops because there's no there's no tribe like indigenous thing. So it's suddenly a policeman with a riot shield. They're like, "Yeah, now I can express my manliness." Do you
Yeah.
get what I mean?
Yeah. And I think there's
The
also like
riots,
something.
like riots, are a good example, aren't they? It's like, well, let's all fight. And it's like, well, why don't we just do it in a healthy way? Why do we have to loot shops and then fight cops? And
Yeah. I wonder too if it's something like the fighting energy, if it's something around like power versus powerlessness too.
yeah, go
Because
ahead.
I feel like a lot of men, when they feel powerless, it can be expressed as like then taking out what power they feel they do have on someone that's very
Yeah, that's
much
like the
weaker than them.
inverted version, like some big giant guy being like, "You what?" and he wants to fight this tiny dude, or
Or
it's like,
animals, beating animals, hitting children. Like
exactly,
it
yeah,
comes
yeah.
across as like the man feels out of control in some situation in his life and then uses that energy to feel in control with something that can't
Can't
fight
fight
back.
back, yeah. But those guys, I think they're far along that. So I'm talking like early stage repression. I think those guys are like they're just not even conscious. They're grid proxies at that point. It's
Yeah.
just unconscious grid controlled authoritarian energy pulsing
That's
through
like
their
the end
bodies.
of the line of not being able to express that for so long.
Exactly. And I've worked in a prison and you see the same patterns, right? Like you see the guy who abuses his partner, domestic violence, right? And now he's in prison. And it's like, how did it get to that? Because his dad beat him, and then
Mhm.
he thinks his dad beat his wife as well. So he saw his mum get beaten, and they kind of think it's normal. But at the same time, none of them are actually expressing emotions, so it's outbursting in these violent acts, you know.
Yeah, and also I feel there's a lot of like what do you feel is like makes you want to fight? Is it like you're defending yourself or
It's like just like no different than dancing is how I would describe it.
oh,
It's like I
that's so
just want to
interesting.
express, I just want to dance. So, and it's also the force of it is so powerful. So if you hit someone with all your force, they feel it, you feel it, everyone is like a shockwave. You know,
Yeah, and I
why do you
feel
think
like
guys
it's
are
very
obsessed with Dragon Ball Z?
oh, there are a lot of people obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's also like it's so repressed in society because like back before we had all these laws, like if someone, you know,
Or like
hit
challenge
your
people to a
sister,
duel or like
like
yeah.
let's say someone hit your sister and you went over to their house and punched them in the face, like it would be fine. But now if you do something like that, you know, the cops are going to get involved
Yeah,
and
that's
you're going to
another
have
thing is the cops seem to turn on the person defending themselves. The guy who's the crazy person going out attacking people, he's gets like community because he's the crazy guy that attacks people. The cops show up to the guy who responded and like hit him back. You know, that's what happens in England anyway.
yeah, and I mean,
But
it's like
yeah,
it's weird. I know someone who went to prison, and the reason he went to prison is because the guy he killed, and I don't think he meant to kill him. He like hit him in the head with a pipe or something, but he had like raped his sister or did something horrible like that, like beat the shit out of his sister and raped him, and then you know he goes and fights the guy, and then he gets in trouble for it. So it's
yeah,
like they've almost removed our own ability
to self manage. Yeah,
or to have justice, right?
yeah, yeah, and I also think sometimes when guys get heated and it ends up in that we have to fight, it'd be so much healthier if they just fight it out because one person loses, the other person wins, and then it's over. When they stop it, like, oh no, mate, I'm going to get my brother's gang and I'm going to get my cousins, and then it escalates into like now someone gets stabbed or shot, or you know what I mean?
Mhm. And I even think like thinking back growing up of all the girls that bullied me, like I've been this height since I was 13.
Hmm.
Like if I was able to physically come back at them, there would have never been a problem. They would have never fucked with me, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
I'm
true.
twice as big as them. I would have just punched them once and they would have been like, "Well, I'm not going to talk shit to her again."
It's true though. I had this conversation with my friend. There was like this one school bully that went around and literally abused everyone. He was notoriously violent, right? And I was just saying, all it took was one person just to punch him and he falls on the floor. But everyone
Mhm.
else was trying to be like, oh no, I don't want to get in trouble. And yet this guy's going around violently attacking everyone. You know, how crazy
Well,
is that?
someone has. I think that's it. Is like a healthy masculine energy will step in and be like, "No, this is gonna end right, motherfucking now."
Yeah, so I didn't have that as a kid because I was trying to be the goody two shoes. Oh, I don't want to get in
Exactly.
trouble.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
didn't have my dad
Press
around either. I
it.
had just my mum. So then when I discovered DMX, I was like, he was my weird surrogate dad or something. And I was like, yeah, I can fuck people up. Or like,
Yeah.
I can
You're
respond
like,
back. I
thank you,
can.
DMX, for raising me.
Yeah, I got bullied horrendously as well. And I think a part of it is that I had no healthy expression of how to stand my ground. So I would assume that defending myself is as bad as these violent criminals,
Well, they
basically. Yeah.
make it out to be like that. Like you're not allowed to physically solve your problems.
Yeah. And there's a guy called Fred the Bodyguard, and he's actually embodies that energy of, no, I'll fight back if I feel threatened. And weirdly, he hasn't actually gotten in trouble with the police, despite him being big on YouTube, despite him being labeled like far right or whatever. I think energetically, because he's clean himself, it's very hard to disturb that energetic body of his. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we
Yeah.
spoke. briefly about samurais one time, and I think they're similar, right? It's they create their own ecosystem of control and governance in a chaotic Japan.
Mhm.
Police can't intervene, government can't intervene, and then they self-manage. They have their duels. One person dies, the other person doesn't. Life moves on.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not allowed to do that anymore, right?
Well, we are. We're bringing it back. I don't give a fuck.
We're bringing it back. Kill everyone. I mean,
Well,
if we were, and
okay,
here,
you took it a little extra. I wasn't saying that, but
no, I know, but if we were, and we're probably going to get canceled for saying this, but like, look at America right now. We just find out everyone in the government's a pedophile, and we're all just like, okay,
yeah, no,
like
you
no
should
one's
be
doing
like
anything.
you should be able to deal with that without government police getting involved yourself. Like if a guy goes around abusing kids, everyone should be able to happily partake in whatever violence they want against them because
Yeah,
it's sort of karmic self-management.
like
And I think you
remember,
void your right to like protection when you infringe on other people's energy bodies. Like I go and abuse the kid, that's it. I don't get protection anymore. But for some reason, the law goes, no, everyone is the same. Everyone is equal. Even if this guy raped a million women and this guy didn't, you're all equal. What? No, you're not.
yeah, there's a serial killer. Who am I thinking of? I think it's Richard Ramirez. And when they caught him, it was like a police chase. And people started noticing and they started chasing him and like beating the shit out of him. And like that's how the cops eventually caught him, right? And like that's how it should be. If
Yeah.
someone's going around killing all the kids and raping people, why can't the town like, that's what they used to do. They used to like hang people
Yeah,
and
yeah.
did shit like
I
that.
don't see any problem with it because it depends. Like this is how I see it, right? If we're conscious, then you take conscious actions. If you're unconscious, you take unconscious actions, but the karmic field controls you. You know, you're in
Mhm.
karma. Karma is always going to balance it out. There's no karma when you're in dharma. What they say is consciousness, but that's because when you're in consciousness, that no part of you wants to attack or abuse innocent people.
Yes.
However, a part of you does want to defend and protect innocent people, and I feel that's righteous. If the Kairos field puts me in a situation, I'm standing there, kids are getting attacked. I'm not just going to sit there and let it happen. You know.
Yeah, and I feel like we're almost being programmed to sit there and let it happen.
Yeah, that is the grid's like no borders, no boundaries, no
Mhm.
sovereignty. Everyone's the same. Nobody has rights.
And you say like we should be able to solve it consciously, but we don't have a system in place for that. Like how would we
We just do our own,
consciously
you know.
well not like how would we consciously solve a serial killer? Well, first of all, this guy probably needs years of therapy. He needs to be locked away from society.
Nah, just
And
behead him. That's how you consciously do it. Is does this person have? Is there a soul in there? I don't see one. Get rid of him. Kill him. There's no soul in there. It was just a weird walking mannequin. Kill it. Get rid of him. He's not
oh
worth
my
being
god, a murdering mannequin.
I mean, if it gets to that point, yeah. But here's okay. You know what? This is funny because I asked the field about this. Right? Is I said, when does it move from control, police, authoritarian, lock them up, whatever? When does it move to a conscious system? And it told me that there's like a flip point where it could be you get these almost like high conscious people that are able to detect energy. They live in these like prisons and they detect does this person inhabit a consciousness, then they work with them. If they don't, they get rid of them. and
That
I,
see,
I
that feels like, but the problem with that
yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
is
Yeah.
it's going into what's that fucking movie? The Tom Cruise one where they can like predict what crimes people are gonna.
Minority report, yeah. So that's
Yeah,
it
like you
happens
get
at a
into that.
certain conscious awareness. It doesn't happen now because now all you would get is your grid proxies being like, this person doesn't have a soul, kill them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You'd get the tyrants dictating who has a soul or not. Like, what?
And
That
then
doesn't
how do
make
you
sense.
know if the person doing the detection can actually detect it? Because this is another problem with
Because by that,
corporations and shit. They don't actually like let's say
this would be a society where hierarchy's gone. We're all tuned
Mm.
into the field. So if you're tuned into the field, you can detect anomalies. You know how when someone walks into a room and they've got bad energy? It would be
Oh
like that,
yeah.
but just on a multi-society level.
And I don't even think it's necessarily a superpower. I think it's just like your nervous system will tell you right
Yeah.
away.
At the moment, we're in the hybrid thing. We've got like, a few conscious people here and there, but the people in these power positions are just tyrants, right? So you never
Yeah.
give the tyrant the power. That's stupid. But yeah,
Well,
like
we
you're right.
did.
They can pretend to. You can always get a fake someone who pretends to be conscious and just wants to go around with slavery and get rid of your rights. And this has happened all through ages with cults and kings who claim they're on the working on behalf of the Lord, and then they go and kill a bunch of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
then I
I would
mean, if
let the
you had it in
field
today's
decide. It's not me, if that makes sense. I'm not the guy going, he's allowed to be the energetic guide, and he's the one who doesn't have a soul. I would just let the field reveal it, and evolve it over
yeah,
time.
because if you did it in today's society, what would happen is the person making this decision would then have some rich ass fucking guy that's like, "Well, I want that guy dead, so say that he doesn't have a soul, so we can kill." Like that's what would happen.
I'm
Like
gonna
that's
pay Henry and Candy to say that my enemy doesn't have a soul, so I can
yeah,
behead him without energetic consequence. But that's the funny thing is, even if that happened, the energetics still play out. You can't really get away with anything. But that brings it to a whole other topic, right? Of like
Mhm.
NPCs and things like that. Like it gets weird. It gets weird. And I feel like if you're going to enter that paradigm kind of awareness of reality, it doesn't actually allow you to enter it when you're unconscious anyway. So I don't think the people who are unconscious have an awareness of that. They even have a weird thing where they divide people based on race and money and status. But in a way, the conscious version is like, is the soul inhabiting the body? Yes or no, and then there's like a decision around that, but it's all field based. There's no binary. It's not like there's no soul, this is the answer. There is a soul, this is the answer. It's more like you're tuning to the field to know how to deal with the situation. There's no exact like justice system or the court system. Like all systems are gone at that point, really.
Yeah. I don't know because this is something I think we disagree on. I don't know if I don't believe that people cannot have a soul.
Yeah, this is kind of what we disagree on, but it's only based on my insane personal experiences in the hospital and stuff like that, where I would be around things that did not have souls. To me, I can't claim that they don't have a soul, but in that field of awareness I was in, like I've described to you before, they moved more like animatronics or mannequins. Or now it doesn't necessarily mean that they never did have a soul or whatever, but in that
Hmm.
moment there was no conscious presence. They were just machine in that moment, to me anyway.
I think it's just that they're not conscious, right? And they're just like
But I could
succumb
detect the
to the
difference. Like it's
programming. The
someone,
programming is running them to
yeah,
the
someone
point that.
conscious was a whole. They felt like, to me, like butterflies, like whimsical. Like I don't know how to describe it.
Hmm.
It was so stark, the contrast. One was this dead entity machine. The other was this living being. Even though they're
Hmm.
both humans. And I'll also put a little disclaimer. I don't think you then take that and then create hierarchies based on conscious, and you know what I mean. Because
Yeah,
even like, let's say, okay, let's just make the
that's what New
argument that,
Age. That's what the New Age people have done.
yeah, let's make the argument that those are beings without souls, right, in the hospital at the time, right? And there's
Hmm.
ones who do have souls. I don't just automatically go around and kill all the all the ones without souls. Like, what does that solve? If anything, they are just, to me, I kind of saw them as architecture of the world. Like they're no
Yeah.
different than factories, theme parks, whatever. They have a function. They just aren't conscious awareness. They've got their own little function. I'm not going to go and destroy theme parks because I know the theme park doesn't have a conscious soul. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And
Well,
yeah,
it's
you can make your case because I want to hear your.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the way I see it would be that like it's just consciousness versus being unconscious. Like the people that you say have no soul are they like nothing can exist without source. Like otherwise it's just a corpse. If there's no consciousness there, they wouldn't be alive at all. They wouldn't be able to move. Like The trees
Well,
have, hold on, let me
yeah.
do my whole thing. Like the
Okay.
trees have consciousness, the plants have consciousness, the animals, everything has it, or it wouldn't live because it's the source of everything that exists, right?
Hmm.
So I think that when you have the ego and the programming, this just completely takes over someone. So they're no longer the witness of their life. They are the life. They're so into the life that they can't object, like they can't come out and view themselves. There's no space there, right? Like
Yeah.
more conscious you are, the more space there is between like your emotional reactions, your thoughts, like you can observe it. If you can't observe it, it's almost like you start playing a video game and you become the character so deeply that you can't even like fathom anything outside of being that character.
Yeah.
And
I
even if
think consciousness is is its own thing, not necessarily a soul. You know what I mean?
mhm
So I think there's something there. But let's do a little back and forth because I'm just curious. If
okay.
I let me ask you this first. Who told you everyone has a soul? I know it
No
sounds
one.
crazy. It's a crazy question. And I've asked myself this when I was kind of introduced to this energetic reality, right? Who
Mhm.
told you everyone has a soul? That's what I want to know.
No one. I would say all this is based on my own observation and experience.
Yeah. Whereas consciousness, you're right. There is something where consciousness is everything around us in a way. Like even the chair has certain form of consciousness, but I don't know if the chair is conscious. Do you get what I mean?
No, yeah, like with the chair, I feel like it's almost like a creation of consciousness.
Yeah. So it depends if we go on the clinical scientific term of consciousness being the awareness of I am, then obviously
Mhm.
the chair is not aware he's a chair. I'm just
No,
sitting
and
on him.
even like our mountains aware that they're mountains. No.
Yeah, but the mountain is alive, the trees are
Yes.
alive, blah blah, and the biology itself is its own organized aliveness. The probiotics in them, they're all alive. The
But that's
difference
the
is,
thing is I am, which is root chakra, is just the I think it is at its core like the awareness of being.
yeah,
So I mean, do trees have that? How would we
the
even know
trees.
unless we were a tree? We wouldn't really know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the science term of being conscious of I am doesn't really apply to the spiritual awareness that there's consciousness all around us, like a big, we're all swimming in it kind of thing.
Mhm.
But the soul thing is different, where I feel the conscious state of the soul, it can be there whether they're conscious or not. So let's say the
Mhm.
person's completely unconscious, there's still a soul underneath guiding them, etc. But I feel the souls are not all the same. That's one kind of like observation of mine. They're not all the same. They're different. They're like instruments, right? One's a
Mhm.
drum, the other's a flute, one's a violin. So they're different. And then when I would experience these, I could call it like a lower density reality where I would see these kind of animatronic people. They felt like it was just noise and static, but it wasn't conscious. It was like you said, like programming, whatever. Now,
Mhm.
I can never claim ultimate truth reality that I know that person doesn't have a soul. I can only speak on my own experience. And then if they aren't conscious, if I'm not picking up a kind of vibration from them, then the actions they're committing are that lower density grid actions. And then it's like, how damaging or beneficial are those actions? From there, you can draw your own conclusion. If we had our own futuristic energetic prison or something, you'd be like,
Hmm.
is this person just going around raping people? Is that really needed? You know,
Yeah.
like who's benefiting from that? However, if it's like
They're not even benefiting from it.
exactly, that's where I'm like, personally, and I could be harsh saying this, but the psychopathic people I don't think serve conscious people. They serve the unconscious people because they keep abusing them until that person turns conscious.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting because this comes up for me a lot. Like, does the soul even exist, or is the soul an idea that was born of separation? Like, oh, my soul has this journey and it's going through all these different lifetimes, and this is where you get like past lives and all that,
Yeah, the way
and
we
it's
had it.
evolving, but it's the same story as, oh, I'm a human and I'm going through life and growing and
Yeah,
evolving.
I feel like the way, I don't know if we described it on podcast or off podcast, but this is how I see it now. Is like you are this sun. Let's just call it a sun, right? And then the sun's got these billions of rays. In Henry at the moment is one of my rays from the soul, right? And then in Kandi is one of those rays from the soul. And the ray itself, they're not all the same. My ray might be a violin, your one might be a drum,
Mhm.
or you know what I mean? And then so it's more like that. And then the rays have their own experience. The one that they're all connect to has its own experience, and then none of them are the same. And that kind of opens up a whole thing of you are probably from a whole different lineage, experience, or tone of God than me, which
Mhm.
makes our viewpoints, our expressions unique. No matter
Yeah.
what part we incarnate on Earth, or let's just make up a, I always say Nexus 9 for some reason, but Nexus 9.
Arcturus.
Yeah, yeah, like it's just there'll be like the Henry frequency there, but not
Mhm.
Henry. And then you could be there and you'll be like, "Oh, I know this frequency." And it might not be I know Henry, but it's like, "Oh, I know it's that same soul. It's him again.
Mhm.
There he is again."
There he is.
Talking on another podcast in Nexus 9.
Yeah, because that I've actually, I mean, I've had that experience where I meet someone and it's almost like whatever you want to call it, the soul signature
Yeah.
resonates with mine. So there's the feeling like, oh, I must have known them in a past life, or
Yeah, and maybe the twin flame is something to do with that, you know?
and it's interesting because what you're saying sounds like the oversoul.
That's right. That is what they call it. Yeah. But when
Mhm.
I was in the field, I just would get these visions of the big solar thing that I came from, because a lot of people from religion assume that inside the human body is just another human body, but it floats around, and they think that's them and all of them. Whereas I'm realizing that's just a projection of this current self. The real
Mhm.
me is the ray, and the ray connects to the oversoul, and the oversoul is the real me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, if you bring that back, where's the ray coming from? Source, God.
Yeah. And just so you know, you can 100% disagree with me on anything. It
I
doesn't
know.
it doesn't bother me because I never want to, and I've said this before, I don't want to create a cult. I'm not trying to claim ultimate truth, but I can
Mhm.
always talk from my own experiences, and then other people might resonate with it, might not. Maybe other people have had the fucking crazy experience where they saw animatronic people and they were like, "What the hell?" Like I
No, I
saw a
definitely know what you mean because 'cause I've seen
yeah, yeah.
it,
I saw people
right?
had it on DMT, they've told me, and they were freaked out because they went up to someone and then the person just didn't have a soul and they were like, "What the fuck?" And would tell them what my experience was this, like they were like animatronics, they had googly eyes and like
Well,
but
that's how I feel about Sydney Sweeney, that she does I can't feel a soul,
oh,
but
so Candy goes from everyone has a soul to everyone has a soul but Sydney Sweeney. Well, it's a
it's
good
just
thing
like,
you're not in charge of the energetic prison because if Sydney Sweeney comes in there, off with her head.
well, she's not doing any, I mean, I guess she's not doing anything, like, horribly dangerous.
Yeah, like, well, this is where fractals even come into it. Because I remember, like, when I went into the field, like, I would try and read Aaron Abke or rappers and stuff, and then it would tell me that they're like a soul that split itself into a billion different fractals on Earth. And I was like, what the fuck? And then it told me, like, what's her name? Bonnie Blue is one of those fractals from an old wounded feminine. And I was like,
Wait, Aaron Apke's a
so
fractal.
this is one of the energetic reads, right? And I don't, again, I'm not claiming ultimate truth. So Aaron, if you're listening to this, don't freak out and have an existential crisis. But it was
Aaron's
essentially
like,
that
"What the fuck?"
I was reading his energy body and I couldn't feel anything significant. So I was like, oh no, hopefully he's not a proxy or something. But I didn't believe that because I could feel he has this kind of honest intent, or there's no
Mhm.
like part of him that I feel is animatronic in a sense. Some of him is a bit robotic, but that's probably just Christian indoctrination, right? Anywho, I would read the field and it would show me like because it would show me visually, right? And it would be like he was one star like little fragment of this other thing that launched itself all over reality in little star fragments, but it itself is its own being, soul, flame, source, so it would kind of dance, spiral, and then burst itself into multiple fragments of consciousness, one of them being Aaron and whoever all these other people are, but the same soul, not.
Yeah, and that's really
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know if you've ever read, fuck, I'm trying to think of the name of the author, but
Is it
he's
Dolores?
no, it's
Yeah.
kind of similar to hers, but he's a hypnotist,
Hmm.
and he would like, I think it's David something, and he would like hypnotize people and talk to them about like their experiences before Earth.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah,
lot
Dolores
of,
did the same, didn't she? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if she hypnotized them, but
She
I
yeah,
thought,
she does the past life regression through hypnosis.
oh, interesting. So what he would say, and he said in his book, is like there are souls that incarnate in multiple bodies at once
Yeah, that's
to
why the twin
learn.
flame thing is kind of a bullshit thing, because there's loads of people who might have the same soul just hanging out near each other, and they're not trying to fuck each other.
And it might be, right? The twin flame might have been like you meeting another version of yourself and it awakening you. And it was probably
Yeah, I
planned
would say
by
this
the
is where I will
soul.
never tell any twin flame person that what they experience with their twin is the same as me or you. Like, I even
Yeah.
think some of them are like, it could even be this. That person could just be someone who came across your frequency in a past life, and you left such a big imprint on them that they carried your tone into this life and it created a reaction or something. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's my soul I need to hook up with to create the divine union. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's so many things too because also like in Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh talks about how you can meet someone that you've had a future life with, and because you're
Because there's
tuned
no
in,
time.
yeah, there's no time because you're tuned in to this like bigger part of, like, let's say you're tuned into your oversoul, so you can feel that. They
Yeah.
might not feel it at all, and they're just like, you're
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, definitely. So there was the fractal with like spiritual people, and there was also it showed me it with musicians. Like, I tried to read like Lil Wayne and some other people, and it would
Lil
show me the
Wayne.
same fractal. It was like the fractal was has a musical gift, right? It's a
Mhm.
soul with a musical gift, and it like exploded into loads of different musicians to express little harmonies and versions of itself, because that's its way of like remembering itself again, is like, I want to be Lil Wayne plus Young Jeezy plus Ti, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then they all feature on a rap thing together, and then boom, it's like energy.
And my mind that hates rap is like none of them have any talent. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, I could introduce you to some real shit, man.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, like, trust me, when you get in the zone, put some
And then it's
Jeezy
like,
on, put
"Hey,
some
baby
Wayne on.
girl, what you doing tonight?"
what what Lil Wayne song was that?
That's not Little Wayne. I'm pretty sure that's a Pitbull song. I
Oh
think that's
right, yeah.
Akon. I don't know.
And here's the thing, right? This so let's just I'll just make it as a statement, and then just so I don't confuse the fuck out of people, and then we'll either get into it another day or not. But this is kind of what came from the field when I asked the questions about like who were those animatronic beings, etc. It just told me that there's like souls aren't exactly like human bodies. They're like moving flame frequency tone rivers, right?
Mhm.
And it showed me that all these rivers have different elements, right? It kept showing mine as fire, and I'd ask it, does everyone experience the fire? And they're like, oh, not really. Some experience like more like stone or concrete. Some experience whatever. It depends on where the
Earth.
lineage comes from. Yeah, like, I don't know exactly, but so there's different expressions of it. That's who you really are when we say soul, is like these elemental things that we come from. It's
Mhm.
funny because there was that elemental film, wasn't there?
Oh
Um,
yeah, there was.
which came after the movie Soul. So
Yeah.
another synchronicity, I suppose. But like, yeah, so there's that, and then yeah, people get confused in the New Age movement because they'll say we're all this soul thing that's like on the rock humming with the other souls, and it's like, well, actually, you're the unique instrument expressing a tone, and then the tone is then in the body sitting on the rock humming the same tone as everyone else. Do you get what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
completely understand.
So that's kind of how I've learned about it, or come to like understand it. And then I feel that the kind of there's different levels of the consciousness as well. Like there was one which was like felt like a child consciousness, and a child consciousness is because it's not from source directly, but it's expressed after source's creation, i.e., Earth can have people form their own souls in the Maya illusion. That's more child consciousness because it's brand new. It doesn't really, it has no experience of its own. Does that
Mm.
mean it's any less valuable than someone who's direct from source? No, because someone who comes direct from source is expressing outwards forever and ever and ever. And then in that
Jesus.
moment, we get different tones, harmonies, instruments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and someone who's expressing straight from source is just going to be killed.
Kind of, but I think that was and back then, yeah,
There's
because
my persecution wound.
it was so fucking dense, right? But I'll also even claim this: I feel a lot of the most conscious people in our time are closer to the source than I would say child consciousness. I feel the child consciousness state, which the field would tell me would call it like echo, right? It would.
Hmm.
I think they are more like the people that get caught up in superficiality all the time because they have child consciousness, so they care. They had the ego is most important in a child if you think about it. So in that spirit, the how they look, how they appear, people thinking they're strong, beautiful, sexy, that's their highest conscious form. If you try and force them to go beyond that and start like, you got to meditate, you got to heal, they're like, what the fuck, and they panic and run away.
Yeah, and I feel like that's it, that there's no linear path for everyone. And like New Age tries to kind of force people onto this path.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel New Age is like the spiritual equivalent of communism. It's like we're all the same. Everyone has to bow down to the source creator, and we all just gotta be humble and not like think sexually or violently, and just be vegan and like just permanently heal ourselves. Don't go outside too much.
But they also, I feel like, they make it seem like everyone can attain a certain state of
Yeah,
consciousness
yeah. Which
that
it
I don't think the soul, if you want to
wants them
call it that,
to.
is
Yeah.
meant to. Yeah.
No, no. And I think frustration comes from that. And we spoke a bit about this where there's a point where everyone has thought, I need to wake everyone up, right?
Hmm.
And then yeah, so the pattern of I have to wake everyone up, like when was that prominent for you and when did it stop being such a thing?
So I'd say it's like when I first woke up, it was really bad. And that's when, I was like, it was almost like Inception. I'm going around like, it's a dream. And everyone's like, no, it's not. You're crazy.
Could you imagine like Neo in the Matrix? There was like a deleted scene where he's just running around and people be like, "Oh, you're in the Matrix!" and like shaking them, and then they turn into an Agent Smith. Like, oh fuck! And then he goes to like the next person.
I think it's just a natural response because when you first wake up, I feel like one of the unique characteristics that most people have when they first like truly wake up is just this huge rush of life force energy. It's like, and you're
Yeah,
just
that's
in
like the
bliss.
Kundalini, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like you figured life out, and now, of course, what you want to do is help everyone else because you see them all suffering, and you're like, it doesn't have to be this way.
I wonder if a part of that is the not I hate unhealed aspects, but it's the unintegrated aspects of you that still think others are a part of your like validation or existence, or this idea that if others are awake then I'm validated in my awakeness, or I wonder if it could have something to do with that.
So within myself, what I found is that it was actually the need to heal myself being projected onto other people.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
And it's a loop, right? Because this is the new age loop.
Hmm.
Is like we have to wake up, we have to heal ourselves. But why would awakened consciousness think I need to heal myself? It's already whole, it's already healed. Right?
Yeah,
So it's like
it's
it's
the
almost
biggest
like
fraud of new age grift is you are unhealed. Because there are like unintegrated aspects, things you're not
mhm.
conscious of yet, but it comes when it needs to via shifts,
Exactly.
and these shifts your soul knows when to give them to you. It's not like, oh man, I hope that persona realizes when it's ready for its next shift, because I'm powerless, I'm just a soul, but I can't control it. I hope they go to more Reiki classes. They haven't. Oh fuck, they're gonna burn in hell. Like what?
Yeah, and then it's also because like your perception opens up, and then you can see people's unintegrated shadow. You can see like
That's right, and it's
the
uncomfortable, isn't it?
yeah, and they're like telling you this problem, and you're like, oh, it's because you
Yeah,
have an
yeah,
inner child wound of this,
yeah.
and they're not ready to hear it, so they're like, no, it's not.
Do you know what I think that is? I think it's the persona that's aware of the information that your soul's kind of giving you, but the persona still does persona stuff. It projects a bit.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly what it is.
And also, you mentioned we took a quick break and you were like talking to your cat, but this brings up that a part of that thing is like nobody goes to their cat, you need to wake up. And like even your cat might be more conscious than, and by conscious, I don't mean the scientific term, but again, like life force energy. The cat
Mm-hmm.
might have more consciousness than the
You.
um the person, yeah, who's walking around, oh fucking I gotta pay this bill and I gotta do that. The cat's not being like, wake up. The cat's just the cat.
Yeah, and that's like full circle on my spiritual journey. What I realize is just like be, and I mean they say it when you first wake up, like oh you just have to be, and it really is just like you just have to be you,
Yeah.
but like actually be you and
Yeah, the
be
more
here.
you are you, let's talk like in the metaphor of the instrument again. The
Mhm.
the like I don't want to say louder, but the more precise your tone, like say your soul frequency tone, right?
Mhm.
It's like a beautiful harmony of God when that your tone plays, my one plays, someone else's plays, and now that's true. Like everyone, quote unquote, waking up. But at the moment, all we've got is those without that tone of God, i.e., the unconscious or the grid energetic entity of fear and slavery, authoritarianism, whatever, right, is just one big fat fart noise. And we can't even barely hear the tone of God because we're just hearing fucking blaring farts in my ears 24/7. And then we think, like, someone needs to hear my tone. What about my tone? You know?
Yeah. It's all really interesting because I do think when you first wake up, and he says in Samadhi, you watched that, right?
Yeah, I've seen both Samadhi, Samadhi 2, and Satori, and I still don't actually really
There's a
know what it
third
means,
one.
but yeah, there's a few, aren't there?
And
They're
I
cool
watched
though. I
the
like
third
them. Yeah.
one on shrooms, and let me tell you,
You were like entered it.
I was Samadhi in that
Yeah,
moment. Yeah,
you were Samadhi witnessing a video about yourself.
it's so interesting though, because right before my friend sent me the link, and it was from someone from TSJ that sent me the link.
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom, and I have this really big lapis lazuli crystal, and
Hmm.
it's like a orb, and I'm looking in the mirror touching this, and I get sucked into this crystal, and I see this figure, and they're like, would you, and my third eye is like like it's buzzing, and the voice is like, would you like to know all of the everything there is to know? And I
Whoa.
feel it like sucking me in, and I'm like, no, no, I don't want to
You
know.
should
I
have said yes. Oh, you blew it up. You ruined it.
And it's funny because in the first Samadhi, he talks about how Thoth would take people and show them everything there is to know, but if they saw with their like human eyes, they'd go
Yeah, yeah.
crazy. But if they
Yeah,
saw
I
with
think
their
so, yeah.
yeah,
There's a few like things of mythology of even what we spoke about, right? There's stuff where someone sees their own shadow and they go nuts and crazy. There's stuff where they see their own reflection in water, they go nuts, they go crazy. Or a
well,
weird one is that they see their brother and they go nuts and crazy. Like
hmm,
Cain killing Abel and stuff. Like he
oh
saw something
yeah,
in him he didn't like. And I was like, I don't actually know what exactly that is. But there's also stuff in Greek mythology of this whole fractal thing where some of the gods would burst themselves into a million pieces to live out as like humans, you know, and like so.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, you were going to say something. Sorry.
And yeah, well, I think what they're saying is almost that if you view this information from a state of separation consciousness, you'll go crazy, and that's what is happening with new age people.
I
Is
agree.
that
Yeah.
you have someone that is just learning the truth, and they're getting like bombarded with, manifestation and the laws of the universe and all this stuff. But who's absorbing this information
You know what?
while there
This
might
is
be.
where resonance comes in, doesn't it?
Well, I think the thing is, while there might be a consciousness that's taking in this information and beginning to integrate it, there's also simultaneously the ego absorbing all this information and then using this information to further manipulate you into its
Yeah.
bullshit. Like if you have never actually, and I know I hate when people say do the work, but if you've never done the work to see the difference between like consciousness and your ego, then it's just gonna take whatever information you gain and use it in the same way. The energy's just gonna follow the
This is
same path.
where I don't actually mind if someone wants to live out that ego fantasy of the awakened thing, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
still feel that even if they did for years, eventually something shifts where the soul or whatever or life events happen and then they shift from it and then they're no longer in it. And it's like, I don't know how harmful it was for them to be in the illusion because it's no different than any other illusion, right? It's just this one is spiritual termed, it's
Yeah, and
you
I mean, at least if you're in that illusion, it's better than being in the
kind of,
illusion.
yeah, yeah. And I also, if you think of that kind of child consciousness, like who's to say they might have a kind of more child consciousness? It's like, well, let them play out the fantasy of the awakened one,
Well,
like,
that's the whole point
yeah,
of the experience, and I don't remember where I heard this, but like that manifestation, like people learning how to manifest actually speeds up the experience and knowledge that like no matter what you manifest physically, it's never going to bring you the happiness and peace that you think it is. So if you realize you can manifest and then you manifest your dream life and you're still sitting here and you're like, well, I'm still unhappy,
yeah, yeah,
it's almost like bringing you to that point faster.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. And also the thing about the like too much information at once, like I think of people that do like the DMT all the time and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and you get some of them that go schizophrenic, right? And I feel that schizophrenia is when the psyche is unable to integrate. So the
Yeah,
psyche is
and almost like the
always
nervous system.
exactly. The psyche's like job is to make sure we're stable. So it's going to form a persona around anything, right? Because it
Mhm.
has to make you stable. So let's say you learn the conscious, you have the shift. Now the persona has the new fancy words like aha, healing, or I've shifted, or I'm with my twin flame. Like it has new words it's using. And it's like, I mean, it kind of has to because if it doesn't integrate it, you then go denial, schizophrenia kind of thing. You then fragment into like, the twin flame is my separate personality that I must integrate, and you got another personality that's like the DM, and then you got the DF. It would almost be like the spiritual components of masculine and feminine, but they've now been fragmented into alternate personalities or paranoia, or like
Hmm.
like have you observed this? Because I've seen with people that take DMT, some of them do end up in the schizophrenia spiral.
Yeah, I call it like spiritual psychosis almost.
Yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
you just and that's the thing is the ego, like first of all, the ego is just like a mechanism within us that is built for us to survive. So I think that like as humans, it was important to get us from being like cavemen to what we are now, right?
I
Like
also oh, that's another topic. I don't know if we were ever cavemen, but
okay, but like think of it this way. How
no,
did
I know what
this
you say. Biological psyche stabilization, just so you can function, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like think about it this way. How did this mechanism even begin to exist? Like first of all, in order to have an ego, thoughts had to appear, and in order for thoughts to appear, language had to exist. Like if we had no language, would we have a voice in our head at all?
You technically people do like who don't speak languages like tribes people do, but it's more symbolically tonal formed. It's more
But
like
there's no claiming
grunts.
with that, right? Like if you're having like images or whatever in your mind, that's not the same as if you
Yeah,
have a
you're
voice
right.
going.
It's
I am doing
if you
this.
think about it, it's some kind of form of psychological evolution, I guess, because like you see
Yeah.
the tribes people have their labels for predator, prey, food, weather, etc., because they need it to survive, right? It gets strange when it goes into society, then philosophy, psychology, and now it's like the labels are everywhere. I guess one way to see it is that as long as you're aware the label is not the truth, it's just a label, you're
Mhm.
in the right current, right? But if you start
Yeah.
mistaking the label for the truth, which is what religion does all the time, I'm a good
Mhm.
Christian, I'm a good Muslim, I'm a good this, it doesn't mean shit if you go around killing, beating up, raping people. Like, you can claim it all you want, you know, they're mistaking the label as the truth. And you also see this with anyone who's just not integrated, unconscious. Like,
Yeah.
even in the spiritual community, they'll say, but I've healed my inner child. I don't get it. It's like, well, you're assuming that because you said the label, i.e., I've healed my inner child, that now there is nothing more for you to do for your inner. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think it really is that, like, the mechanism of claiming, like, the thoughts appear and the ego is the one claiming that I am thinking this. I
yeah,
am
when I've
doing this.
had those
And
persona collapses, i.e., the Henry persona is gone, or I guess you kind of call it ego, right? Because you say
mhm.
persona and ego, you basically mean the same thing, right?
No,
But
I mean,
oh, okay, good.
so for me, like, the persona would be like the personality.
Okay, yeah, because for me, like, persona is Henry, and then ego is the persona identifying me as Henry, knowing that I am Henry.
Yeah, yeah. To me, the ego is just like the act of identifying.
Yeah, so when I had these persona collapses, which I think has only happened twice in my life, right? There is no, the Henry's gone, but what does
Mhm.
happen is my brain struggles to find a label to tell me who I am. Luckily, the first time I had it was post hospital. The second time I had it, I had the deep field connection. So the field's telling me who I am. The field's telling me this. First time I had it when I got out of the hospital, there's nothing there. So what do you think my brain went to? Jesus, this,
Yeah.
that, like deities, gnosis, spirituality. It's like maybe I was Julius Caesar, maybe I was Cleopatra. Like, who fucking knows, right? But
Mhm.
because, and if you think about it, if that continued, it would go into that, like you say, spiritual psychosis, schizophrenia. It didn't though, because there was enough conscious awareness for me to integrate what the fuck was going on.
Mhm.
And then slowly, when Henry comes back online, he's just I say I or he is hard to separate, right? But he's just confused as fuck because he's like, what the fuck was that all about? I just spent 3 months like in some crazy 5D love universe where I thought it was Jesus, and now suddenly I'm just Henry again, and it is funny because we said about the drugs earlier, like the come down. That's the ultimate come down when you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
5D love. Oh yeah, we're all connected, we're all one. And then you're like, oh no, fuck, I gotta pay bills and shit. I'm still Henry. Fuck.
Yeah, well, I also think it's strange because, like, if you don't already have enough consciousness within you, and by that I mean, like, the space between not just the thoughts but the feelings and the real life experiences,
Hmm.
if there's no space there, then, like, let's say you have no awareness that you're not the voice in your head, then if you
Yeah.
have this spiritual experience, the claiming is still happening, right? The mind is going, oh, I'm enlightened now, and I'm Jesus now. And, like, if you
Yeah, I think it
don't
stops
have it,
after a while, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah, but if you don't have, like, already have the space within you to be able to just observe that without clinging it to, like, who you are,
That's what's
then,
interesting is the first experience I hadn't done the conscious I am or awareness of like witnessing thoughts. So every thought
mhm,
that appeared felt truthful. It was only after the twin flame experience I then was aware, oh, every thought that appears is a thought. It's then me interpreting, does this resonate or is this coming from something else, and that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, there
exactly.
is. I guess you're right. So if people don't go through the conscious awareness of observing thoughts, i.e., when they have those crazy DMT trips or near-death experiences, whatever it is, they can easily go into the psychosis because they've never actually observed the thoughts. So they always take the thoughts as gospel.
Exactly. Yeah.
which is almost like every crazy cult, every crazy spiritual abuser preacher guy, like, you know.
Yeah, and then you have like I think it's also discernment and just the ability to observe these thoughts and not instantly believe them, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the problem
which
because
is the same for channeling. And even when I would communicate with the field, I realized there's no reason why I can't pick up bullshit when I do that, because I'm still in this grid density. And lots of people channel and they just assume it's gospel, but as they're channeling, any bullshit can come in there, because it can be from their own psyche, their own projection, or just energetically in the body of the
where
earth.
you are, like fucking the
Yeah, yeah.
people around you.
Because I'll take an example. Let's take Ra, Abraham, Hicks, and give me another channeler like what's his name?
Bashar.
Bashar. Yeah, take them. Notice that all three of these things they're speaking about, which claim ultimate truths, all conflict with each other. So what's going on there? It's obviously, you can't say they're all 100% clean signal. There could be a
Mhm.
50% truth there, and there could be 50% nonsense. And I also feel the same with astral people that astral travel. It's very mixed, right? Because your psyche has to interpret it, or else you go crazy. And
Yes.
the psyche always fits things into symbols you can understand. Yeah,
Yeah, and I almost view it as like you have this energy coming in, and then the way it's interpreted is going to be based on you, right? It's going to be
yeah, yeah,
based on like the distortions within you.
yeah,
So you might not actually be hearing what the energy is saying at all,
yeah. That can
because your
happen.
mind's going to try to interpret it as what you believe or whatever.
Yeah. Do you want to know the weirdest thing I did when I came out of hospital?
What?
And by the way, there's probably lots, so I'll just name one. But one of the weird things I did was I took this demon-looking entity thing, right? Which I called the demiurge. And again, I didn't know what the demiurge meant,
Doing
but
the demiurge.
I just called it from my head, just like I would say, "Oh, I'm in 5D love." I never heard of 5D before, so it came from some kind of energetic thing in me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I called it the demiurge. And then I wrapped it in a heart, and I put it around, like, near me or something. And then my psyche or the field or something was trying to tell me, this is what this is the, like, the enemy, but the enemy that people don't understand, and it doesn't exist. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
would tell me. And obviously I have no fucking idea what that means. But then years and years and years later, or I'd say now I kind of get it. It's like the grid. It's like it's its own energy control mechanism. It doesn't necessarily exist as a big bad evil guy, but it's
No,
also
it's just a
not.
buildup of collective energy through hundreds of thousands of years.
Exactly. And it's not. And like, I think the wrapping of the heart around it was, back then I used to think it's because love beats fear, right? But now I see it more as like, because if love is more like who we are, it's not something we express. We don't have to go and love a psychopath to express to be love. But the love
Hmm.
itself is more real. So that's why it's wrapped around it. Like, he's binded. He's the being thing is hidden or constricted by it. He can only exist in the fear separation
Yeah.
illusion, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that is like Adam and Eve, like the whole tale of them becoming separate is the story of us becoming separate from God through our own illusion,
Yeah.
right? I think
All of a
God's
sudden
just
shame
there.
comes in, they cover their skin, you know, their
Yeah.
judgment comes in. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they start viewing themselves as their own separate thing.
Yeah.
And like, what does the snake say? Do you want it? Doesn't he say, don't you want to know all the good and the bad in the world? Or do you want all the information of the world? And what happens? Eve eats the apple. But who's eating the apple? Eve is eating the apple, not consciousness. So
Well,
now she becomes a separate person.
yeah, the oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. But like, yeah, there's a lot in there. Like, it's multi-layered, right? Like, some people think,
Hmm.
oh, the snake is Satan and stuff. But if you think of the snake as the kundalini or awareness, right?
Yeah.
You eat the apple of everything, but then suddenly the god, the false god, i.e. demiurge, he comes in there and goes, how dare you disobey me? Because now you've basically disobeyed the grid's fear proxy control thing. So he then tries to shame you into, or guilt you into, out of paradise, you know?
Mm.
Do you get what I mean? You're then exiled
Yeah.
out of paradise. But it's like, who is this voice who's allowed to exile me out of paradise?
Yeah,
And why
but
do I have to listen to
but
it?
that's the thing is like who's the God they're seeing because now they've separated themselves from God.
Yeah.
So who's the God they're seeing? Is it the God that was there before or
I
is it their own
Personally, I think
perception?
the tale of that is basically to show that at one point this realm was itself harmonious duality, i.e., Adam and Eve, etc.
Mhm.
Something happened along the lines where this grid entity thing is given some kind of power over them, authority, and now
Mhm.
people are living in separation, fear, shame, duty, obligation, all this stuff. It's just like a nice summary of what's actually happened on Earth, and it's reflected in the post Atlantis. It's reflected in the, like you say, religions. They all then, rather than the religions go, well, what was the thing before that people had? They then go, you see, you should have listened to the god. Now that's why you suffer, which is just more grid demiurge bullshit, you know?
Yeah, but it what's crazy is like God saying, "Well, now you can't be in paradise," is actually the truth because if you have separated yourself from God and now view yourself as the ego, as the individual, then you can't be in paradise.
I get what you're saying, but if you actually
Yeah.
listen to what the words are in the Bible, they're all fear shame based. So it's like God would never
Mhm.
talk to you in a fear shame. He's not going to be like,
No.
"How dare you?"
I think God is probably like, "Oh, okay, you wanna go have that illusion, well, go ahead." Like,
Yeah,
what does
yeah,
it matter to God? God already knows you're part of him and you're whole. So if you
yeah,
wanna go and fucking imagine an entire planet of people that are all separate, go right ahead. Like, you're gonna come back home one day.
yeah, yeah. Is that a good way to end it? should we should we end it
Sure.
there?
Sure.
Is that why did I play the stupid music? So yeah, I mean, anything else you want to add before we wrap it? We
I
always
just
think we're going to talk about AI. We don't.
we never talk about AI, it's not
It's this
time.
forbidden topic.
I think we should end it with your read on Pitbull.
Well, this is the thing. I can't do my field reads like I used to. I'm now very much persona Henry, aware there's this conscious me, but before I was like me in the field of one. I'm not gonna like claim I still have it. The only time I have it is like early mornings, late nights, sometimes randomly.
Well, let's just talk about your like what do you feel around Pitbull?
Oh, so if I had to just go on an intuition here, Pitbull is like feels like the child kind of consciousness state, right?
Mhm.
And I don't see anything malicious, and I don't see anything fully sovereign, but conscious and aware enough of himself, and that's basically it.
Cuz
What's your
I don't
read
know
on
what it
Pitbull?
is,
Do you don't
but
you think he's the devil?
no, I just love him.
Yeah, I like him too. I actually
Like
quite like the guy.
it's just he's just so fun. Like there's just nothing there to hate. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've always liked him. I find him funny. I find him interesting. Dale. I find Mr. Worldwide. Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything bad about him. You know, I also don't think he's stupid either. He's very intelligent.
Yeah, he's just he's very interesting to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I should have done a reading on him when I was deep in the field, man.
You lost the chance.
Yeah, he just didn't come up because he's kind of like not relevant anymore. I guess he wasn't in the forefront of my psyche.
I don't know. I feel like he's got like a cult following now.
Does he?
See Pip. I literally had someone in my old apartment who had a giant pit bull like banner outside their apartment and everything.
Wow. Well, there you go, folks. That is the True Flames podcast with Henry
Candy cane.
and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye. The music.